In today's video, Square buys Afterpay, but is it worth $29 billion? Furthermore, Cathie scoops up some Robinhood shares, but should you really be surprised? Next, Tencent is getting hit due to regulatory issues, but should you really be concerned? And finally, some more news coming right up. Welcome back everyone, I'm your host Edward, and on this channel I talk about stocks and crypto news, so if that's something you're interested in, feel free to subscribe and hit that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. But yeah, for my Canadian folks out there, I hope you guys had a really great long weekend. But yeah, during the weekend there were some big news that I really want to get into, so let's not waste any more time and let's just dive right in. So as usual, I'm just going to go through the markets, and today the Nasdaq, the Dow Jones, and the S&P are just doing okay. Surprisingly, yesterday there was a big drop near the end of the market close, and if we look at the heat map today, we can see that there's a little bit of red and green everywhere, so nothing too crazy going on. The gaming sector is getting hit really heavily today. I'll get into that in just a second. Now in terms of the crypto market, it is down pretty bad today at about 2.3%, and Bitcoin is down about 4% today. But diving in, during the weekend we saw an explosive move up to about $42,000, but unfortunately the volumes were really low, which is why we're getting rejected, and now we're testing the lower levels, and we go into the weekly time frame. So we look at the 21 EMA, which is super important when it comes to a bull run for Bitcoin. We actually closed above it on Sunday, which is a bullish sign. So right now we're testing the lower levels, and right now the next level should be about 37,500, and that's a really good point of control. And if we break down below that level, then the next level would be about 35,000, and I'm happy that we can retest because we have to confirm that those are really good resistance levels. But if we look into the past, Bitcoin's price always bounced above the 21 EMA, and usually when we break below it, that's when we get like a mini bear market. But yeah, we're gonna see if this is actually a fake out or not. But on this Sunday, if we do close above the 21 EMA again, that's gonna be super bullish. But the main article that I really want to get in today is that Square actually bought a company called Afterpay for about $29 billion. And for those that don't know, Afterpay is a direct competitor to Affirm, and they both focus on the buy now pay later business model. And I think a lot of people were surprised by this move because first of all, Square didn't do really well during their Q2 earnings, and the revenue actually dropped, which is why the stock during pre-market yesterday was down. But surprisingly, I guess a lot of people were bullish on this acquisition, and when the market opened, Square pumped up about 13% yesterday. But now we can see that the stock is taking a breather today. But in the end, I really like this move because Square is that company that wants to kind of have every single financial vehicle for the consumers. But buying this company will allow them to dip their toes in this business model. And I actually did a whole video on Affirm, and that will give you a good insight on how Afterpay makes their money. But usually these companies would add interest on top of their installments, and that's how they make most of their revenue. And I believe Affirm is the biggest one right now, and Afterpay was at least in the top 5 in that business model. But I wonder how Square is gonna vertically integrate their software into Square. So that's gonna be a big challenge for Square in my opinion. And over here, right, Jack Dorsey said that we built our business to make the financial system more fair, accessible, and inclusive, and Afterpay has built a trusted brand aligned with those principles. And yeah, overall there's a huge new revenue segment for Square, and actually I think this is gonna save the business because if we look at their Q2 earnings, and we can see that the Bitcoin revenue isn't holding up as great due to the price declining and etc. But the buy now pay later revenue segment could be explosive. But yeah, in the end I'm very excited, and I want to see Square succeed, and I truly think that this company will be the biggest financial company in the US in the next decade or so. So yeah, we'll see if that will actually play out. Next up, Cathie and Arkinfest scoops up some Robinhood shares during their debut. Now this isn't really a shocker to me because Cathie is really into fintech, and she believes that this sector will pretty much disrupt the whole entire financial industry, and Robinhood isn't a stranger to this. And not only that, Cathie has a hurdle rate of about 15% year over year for the next 5 years, meaning she only picks out stocks stocks that would double in value every 5 years. And everything that they kind of invest in means that they have at least a 15% year-over-year growth for the next 5 years. I'm pretty confident that Robinhood has a higher hurdle rate than that. Definitely, because they are producing really great numbers, but there are a lot of risks because of all the lawsuits that they're getting right now. But it seems like Cathie Wood isn't scared of that, so that's probably why she invested in it. But yeah, it seems like she's very bullish on any fintech companies. But I know that they did a research report in the past, and they did mention SoFi being a really great investment. And I did a whole video on Robinhood, so if you're interested in that, please check it out after this video. And I gave my thoughts on the stock. I'm not gonna spoil it, but I'm pretty much on the fence on this one. Next up, it seems like Tencent is pretty much in trouble because the Chinese media call it their online gaming sector an opium as regulatory concerns mount. Now Tencent is probably the biggest gaming company in the world. And now the CCP is kind of targeting them is kind of pretty scary, not gonna lie. Which is why we go into the heat map. The gaming sector is down pretty heavily today. And that's because the gaming sector really depends on the Chinese market. Because first of all, they have a huge population and majority of the people there really loves gaming. So that's why there's a domino effect happening, and that's why a lot of gaming stocks are down today. And the only gaming stock I'm willing to hold is Tencent. Tencent doesn't just focus on gaming, but they have like WeChat, QQ, and etc. But I can see that there's a lot of FUD happening, right, when it comes to this. And I feel like the CCP is just showing who is boss. Because in the United States, I feel like the tech companies has more power than the government, which is why Trump was banned. And that was very controversial. I'm not going to get into it. But China kind of saw that as, oh crap, like, you know, we have to show who is boss. And that's why they're taking a huge stance on their tech companies. And that's the risk of investing into Chinese stocks. Because you have to put in political risk when you invest into Chinese stocks. And this could be all just FUD, because if we look at 10 years from now, Tencent and Alibaba will do a lot better than they are right now. I think this is just on the moment, and a lot of investors are scared. But I personally can't invest into Chinese stocks due to their accounting practices. And it's not because of the CCP, it's just that I don't trust their numbers. But other than that, you can't go around with the China ETF. So that way that you have a little bit of exposure into China. Especially if they're the second biggest economy right now, and if they continue to bloom and flourish. But individually picking stocks would be a little trickier, I would say. So this is half BS, right? So children are not nearsighted because of gaming. It's mostly due to genetics, and unfortunately I had the bad genetics, which is why I do have to wear glasses. But the thing is, it does affect education, and I highly agree with that. I believe children these days, attention span has decreased really heavily, and that most of them have to take Adderall to listen in class, which is a shocker. Back in my days, nothing like that happened, but it seems like there's a lot of social concerns. If you're very interested into Tencent stock, it could be a really great pickup if you can ignore the FUD. Next up, it seems like HSBC is blocking payments to Binance exchange. Last month I did a video on Binance, and I talked about how they're having a lot of, regulatory issues because they aren't really registered to do business in certain countries, and it seems like the UK is now targeting them. And over here in Ontario, we already got the notice where they're gonna be shutting down operations here. But yeah, in the end, it just seems like Binance just did business all around the world on the web without going through regulatory activities with certain countries. So that's gonna backfire on them, unfortunately. And if you're on Binance, I highly recommend you to just go to Coinbase Pro. But Binance is getting very sketchy because the CEO is looking to find a replacement because of the regulatory issues that he's kind of dealing with. And it seems like the CEO doesn't have a really strong regulatory background, which is why he's stepping down as CEO. I feel like that's a weak excuse, to be honest, because Mark Zuckerberg has to go through all these regulatory issues, but he's not a regulatory expert himself. And I feel like when you're a CEO and founder of a company, you're not willing to leave until the mission is completed. I don't think Binance's mission is done, and I don't think he should leave yet. I think he should be learning and trying to go through the hard processes. But something sketchy could be going on in the back of the company, right? And if you're the CEO, you kind of get the backlash usually. It seems like he's just quitting on the company, unfortunately. So in my opinion, I'm not really happy about that, which is why I don't have any money in Binance and I put them all somewhere else. And I don't think a lot of people should leave their money in exchanges, because if the exchanges get in trouble, right, then they can confiscate all the cryptos, which is why I believe you should leave it in the cold wallet. wallet, or leave it there until Square's hardware wallet comes out, because I'm definitely going to switch to that one. So yeah, that's just my quick opinion on that. Lastly, it seems like Elon Musk got a huge funding from Google for about $205 million for their startup called Neuralink. If I was ever a venture capitalist, I would put all my money into Neuralink, because this is pretty much the singularity, because there's no way we cannot further advance civilization without technology anymore, and I don't think we can backtrack, and I think Neuralink will be the nail in the coffin for that, because AI, to be honest, is very scary, especially if we don't merge with it or keep up with the technology. And if you watch the movie Matrix, then you already know what will happen, right? And Neuralink did some really crazy things with the Pong and the monkey. I don't know if you watched that video, but I highly recommend you to do so. But yeah, I'm excited to see how this is going to play out in the future, and I think this is going to be the nervous system of something even greater than the internet, so we'll see what happens. That wraps up for this video. If you're interested in buying crypto, please head into my referral links in the description box down below, and we can both get a small cash bonus once you sign up and make some trades. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm, and if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe and hit that bell notification so you can see my videos every single week. That's pretty much it, and I'll see you on in the next video. Peace.